Hiya crafters, Amy here with Amy's Wares, and I have a custom critter birthday card to share with you. I have an adorable stamp and coordinating die from Lawn Fawn. This has got a cute little parrot, and I have this die set from All to New. Now this is actually going to be a custom card. I'm going to use some stencils from A Colorful Life Designs, and here are a couple photos of the finished card. This is actually a card for my daughter, who is just about to turn 13. I'm not sure when I will air this, but she's about 2 weeks shy of becoming a teenager, and none of us are really sure how we feel about that, but so far so good. She's a great kid, and she loves her some cockatiels, so I am going to ultimately color this cute little parrot as a cockatiel for her custom 13th birthday card. So I'm just stamping it a couple times just so, you know, in case I mess it up. But I'm stamping it with a Copic friendly ink. So I'm using Gina K amalgam ink because that will do okay with Copic markers, which are alcohol based. So here at this point I decide I want to use the little speech bubble and include some little text inside of that as well, just so I can kind of use that with the coordinating dies and finish the card. So here you can see I kind of put the words in one side and then did the speech bubble, and then I can flip it and it will line up with the words exactly in the right spot, also in the next speech bubble. So if you want to take a screenshot, these are the colors that I used. I didn't use very many. I think I may have added one more into the mix in a little bit, but ultimately very simple Copic coloring. If you've watched any of my coloring before, I kind of call it quick and dirty coloring for the lazy crafter because I like it, and sometimes it can be cathartic, but most of the time I just don't have the patience to go back and forth and use too many colors. So I love it when other people do it. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, but I just personally do not have the patience for it. So what you don't see off screen, I have a picture pulled up on my friend's phone who was crafting with me. He pulled up a picture of a cockatiel for me so that I could figure out the coloring, because I just don't remember things like that. Like, I could tell you the general colors that are used, but the placement of the colors and those sorts of details, no. I need some sort of reference. So if you're ever not sure how to color in a stamp, then I would recommend Googling that particular critter, or better yet, Google that critter and then put cartoon in the Google search, because then you could get probably a more whimsical and likely sort of color scheme for your coloring of stamps, because you probably likely have a cartoonish sort of stamp. So that's just a little fun tip for your coloring if you need some reference like I do. So here I'm already nearly done. I'm just using a little bit of gray for the speech bubble. I used some teal for the hat. And then after I got the dies out, I think is when I realized that I didn't color his little feet. So then I had to have my friend pull up the picture again, because I didn't even notice what color the feet were. So yeah, that's me committing it to memory really successfully. They're orange, fun fact. But anyways, I went back in and filled that in, and then lined these up, these little dies, with my mint tape and ran it through off screen through my die cutting machine. So that's going to finish this little portion. You just want to make sure you get them lined up really well. So take the time so you don't cut off a little budgie foot, because you know nobody wants that. And then I'm going to move on to the next spot. So at this point I know I want to cut the numbers for 13 out, and I want to use a stencil. So I decided to use some just residual teal ink that's on my blending brush, just to lay some down on the cardstock. And then I decided to use this adorable Itty Bitty Love stencil from A Colorful Life Designs to bring in some fun detail onto the cardstock where I'm going to be cutting the numbers out of. So I'm going heavier handed, and I have this aquatine color, so it'll be monochromatic, but it will still have that fun design from the stencil. And as you probably know, I do have a coupon, AmyFan10, so if you want to shop any of the magnificent stencils in the shop at A Colorful Life Designs and support that small woman-owned business in Texas, then use that coupon and save 10% on your complete order. So here I ran this through my die cutting machine, and I have these adorable little numbers cut out for the card, and they perfectly match the little hat on the cute little cockatiel here. So my daughter is pressing me and pushing and trying as best as she can to get a cockatiel, which is not going to happen. And I know one of my friends who is on my design team even breeds them. But as adorable as they are, it's still just, it's not going to happen. It's just not, because yeah, we don't need a bird. I love them, but we don't need a bird. So anyway, I have another stencil here. This is called Overlapping Lines. This is also from Colorful Life Designs. I knew I wanted something kind of with lines or rays or something to kind of just be a subtle little backdrop for the cute little critter to land. So that was kind of exactly what I had in mind. It's working out very well so far. And I know I want to nestle this cute little cockatiel on the top of the numbers here. I'm just figuring out which side. And then I have this adorable little speech bubble. Now I realize after the fact, after I've completed this, that I didn't even use the adorable pun that said, apparently it's your birthday. I think I waited initially. I didn't stamp it because I wasn't sure if a cockatiel was considered a parrot. And I didn't want to be inaccurate because, rest assured, my precocious 13-year-old would have called me out on it. So I think that's why I left it off initially, even though the pun was like my favorite thing about the stamp set. So I think I left it off, but then I did remember to Google search it later, and evidently it is a parrot. So I think what I'm going to do after the fact is go back in and stamp that pun and maybe just the outline of the bird on the inside of the card, just to utilize that pun because it's adorable. And now that I know it's accurate and I won't get called out on it, yeah, I'm going to go for it. So you won't see that in the pictures or in the finished card, but I'm going to go back in before I give it to her and stamp that on the inside because it's just too cute. Anyway, I continued the design onto the inside of the card with just some residual ink from my blending brush, and I found this adorable sentiment from My Favorite Things. Sadly, I don't know if the stamp set is still available. If it is, I will link it below, but I remembered this one specifically in my head because I just think it's such a cute sentiment. It says, "Another fun-filled adventure year awaits you," or something like that. Really cute. I thought it was really fitting for her entering this new stage of her teen years. So I'm just going to stamp that in the same aquatini color right over the light orange ink blending on the inside of the card. And then I decide to pop up the numbers with some foam. So I picked kind of a coordinating color. This is actually adhesive backed foam. So this is really super fun to work with if you want to just take that extra step and do another layer of die cutting out of this foam and glue it together. You basically have a glorified sticker that you can just smack on down onto your card, and it's awesome. I love it. So you get this extra little pop of color when you look at it from the side. You get the nice even dimension, so there's no saggy bits, which is always nice. And yeah, it's just an extra little step that I'm more than happy to do for my beloved daughter. So I've got my liquid glue, which is Barely Arts glue, on my precision tip. Just laying a little bit of that down, putting the die cut letters or numbers on top of it, and then I'm just going to put a weighted block on it for a little bit just to give it a chance to cure. And then I decided to go extra still because I had this scrap foam. Why not? I decided to do the same thing for the little cockatiel and the speech bubble. So they're also going to have that same even dimension with the foam and the same pop of color on the side. So same thing here, liquid glue, you know the drill, kind of attaching everything, and then I'll put the weight on it just to kind of hold everything down and make sure that it sticks. And then really it's just a matter of putting everything together. It's going to be pretty simple beyond that. So a couple little extra steps than I would normally do, but I find this acceptable for my for my daughter or my husband. They appreciate it. So here I'm just going to remove the backer and line this up exactly where I want it. I want to make sure it's nice and straight. Put the 3 down and the 1, and then same thing, I can remove the backer from the bird and the speech bubble, and that's basically going to be it. I do think I came back in with some blingage if memory serves. We'll find out in a moment. I think at this point I realized the 1 wasn't quite straight, so I may have been fiddling with that a little bit, but I love the extra white space. It's nice and clean and simple. It's not going to take away from the cute little critter. So it's got kind of conflicting patterns. It's got interest, but I feel like it's not too much. So here I'm going to bust out the blingage. I have some iridescent sequins here that I'm going to put on the front of the card in odd numbers. So again, I got the liquid glue out, and I'll get my jewel picker. I'm going to do 3 to the left side, 2 to the right side, and just kind of put those down just to give it a little bit of shimmer and shine, but overall still pretty simple. So I don't feel the need to create a scene. I love when other people do it, but I'm just absolute rubbish at it. So instead of creating a scene, I tend to just kind of create some sort of texture or dimension or color that kind of fades off to white in the background. And I find that completely acceptable. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing. And I will catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.